Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.
So this episode may be the first episode we ever recorded of this show. So it was recorded a while ago, recorded before the show released. It has never been released, even though we released some of our pre-stuff to patrons before we actually launched. This has never been released. Only about maybe 10 people have heard it. But this was the first episode of this show that we ever recorded. And this was the turning point episode for us to make us realize that this was sort of the format that we were going to go with. There's some dated stuff in here and some placeholder stuff that you're going to hear. We didn't really formulate the Twitter question and answer yet. And we certainly hadn't figured out what our Patreon page was going to be called yet. So there's going to be some talk about that seems like it's not formulated yet. And also, Heath makes several jokes about eugenics being the next episode, and we did eventually do eugenics. We were going to release this episode within the first 5, but we wanted to do some more and different things in the first 5. So this episode got pushed back. And so it wound up getting pushed back as a bank episode. And luckily we had it in the bank and we could produce an episode this week because the puzzle guys just got back on a tour. They had been gone for 14 days and they could not record. So luckily we had this episode that we could play for people. We hope you enjoy it. It's a look back at the very beginnings of this show for our 25th episode. We think it's probably one of the funniest episodes we've ever done, so we hope you enjoy it.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single Wikipedia article about it, and pretend we're experts. Because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Eli Bosnick, and I'll be your guide through this never-ending cavity of dubious knowledge and partial understanding because reading a whole Wikipedia every week is a lot to ask. We'll be dividing the work up 5 ways, so join me from the pizza-deprived, murderous hellscape of Chicago, Illinois, from the Cognitive Dissonance Podcast and the Bad Touch Training videos for school nurses. Please welcome Tom and Cecil.
We love you too, Heath.
I gotta say, I've seen a lot of Bad Touch nurse videos, but I've never until now considered any of them training. But I'm willing to renegotiate my stance on this.
They are. Wax on, wax off. So.
Okay. All right. Trained. I feel very well trained. The student has become the master.
It's her fault for not sweeping the leg. And also joining me from the only volcano lair that's required to disclose its sexual history to its neighbors, from all the podcasts with me on them, please make some noise for Heath Enright and No Illusions.
We live in a weird place. Everyone just walking around, knocking on doors. It's like adult Halloween. Remember what I told you yesterday? Same. Yeah, cool.
But trick or treat has a whole different meaning in our neighborhood, yeah.
Not a fun trick. All right, gentlemen, we're about to drop some knowledge, but before we did, I wanted to thank our Patreon supporters for making this show possible. If you want to know how to join their ranks, stick around to the end of the show. And with that out of the way, Cecil, tell us what person, place, thing, event, concept, or phenomenon brings us together today.
Today, we're going to be covering the Cobra Effect.
Ooh, and Noah, since the name comes first alphabetically, if you start from the middle, you get the honor of kicking things off. You read the Wikipedia article on the Cobra Effect, correct?
All 306 words of it. Yes, I sure did.
Ooh, good enough. You are an expert now. Teach us all there is to know.
All right. So the Cobra Effect is a term used in economics and various easier A versions of economics like sociology to denote an intended solution that actually makes the target problem worse.
Are you sure you're not reading the Wikipedia page for Republicans?
It's a subheading. Yeah.
I'm actually going to go ahead and rename my autobiography right now.
Or maybe you were looking at the page for eugenics. Well, I'm not saying the Jew problem got bigger. I feel like that's what it sounded like I was saying. But seriously, shotgun eugenics next time I go, if I get to do a thing.
Heath, I hate to give feedback on air, but you suggest eugenics too often.
Pugs are unethical. I tell you.
Oh.
It was
Not
a tie.
after match.
It's a tie. Noah, why is it called the Cobra Effect?
Well, to answer that question, I have to take you back to the 17th century when India was a backwards and barbaric peninsula filled with misguided non-whites that worshiped the wrong gods.
Not sure we need the time machine, but whatever.
Now, luckily for those primitives, though,
See, this is what I'm talking about. This.
the British East India
So was I.
Company hefted the white man's burden and set out to do something about all that in the early 1600s.
I'll take kill and enslave them for 300, Alex.
Cecil, you always pick, kill, and enslave them. I'm starting to get a little worried about this, actually. This is always your suggestion.
Ooh, Tom, we should trade quiet but funnier than us guys. They could start their own race war.
Screw
Beard and the
Heath.
tall.
Screw that, Heath. Let's start our own empire. I
like
can grow
that
a
better.
tiny little mustache.
Get your very own Reich. Everyone gets their own Reich.
You could not grow a tiny mustache. Any mustache you grow would be massive and epic and face-defining. You could not grow a tiny mustache.
Okay, so a Stalin mustache. Then.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'll work. That'll work. All right.
Good eugenics mustache.
Well, now that we've got that all sorted out, we can go back to our Cobra Effect story. Now, according to an anecdote,
Or Breitbart, or a presidential tweet.
different ways of saying the same thing, or maybe even a true story the wiki authors didn't bother to annotate. Anyway, during British colonial rule in India, the government was concerned about the number of venomous cobras in Delhi. And let's face it, if that number isn't zero, this seems like a well-founded fear.
I feel sort of bad for Cobra, actually. Incompetent leadership, unflattering outfits, poor marksmanship training. Am I talking about the right thing?
No, you're thinking about the one where you go left, right, up, down, the ABA select, start. It's similar.
For the audience who can pee all the time whenever they want to, that was a cartoon from the 40s about racism. It was about racism. Keith and Cecil were kids. My name's the black one. Nobody buys my toys.
You're going to die before me.
I will last laugh because you'll be dead. Yeah, exactly. So the British government office decided to do something about this cobra problem, and their idea was to offer a bounty for every dead cobra the locals could bring in.
G.I. Joe was real.
And now you know. Now, initially, this was a successful strategy as a large number of snakes were killed for the reward. Eventually, however, enterprising people began to breed cobras for the income.
Right. Just like poor people with welfare. So you're saying the bounty part is what we're missing.
Back to eugenics again.
Think
I know,
about it.
I
Our
understand.
cops are already good at catching them.
They're already killed in large numbers.
They're venomous. You know, if you teach a poor person to breed cobras, they'll throw away that stupid fishing pole. So,
Well, there's that.
yeah.
You know, I don't even care that they're gaming the system. I think if you're breeding fucking cobras, if things get really tough, you can just sell your enormous steel balls for scrap metal.
Well, they probably had to because eventually the government became aware of this and then the reward program was scrapped, which in turn led to a bunch of out-of-work cobra breeders going like, well, fuck, these guys are useless now. Might as well release them into the wild.
Right. And they ended up with all these cobra ghettos, I'm assuming, right? That's what
No,
happened.
this isn't
Deserve
like
it.
him. I think he got onto YouTube again. I thought we only were letting him watch cat videos.
What's the plan?
You know, I gotta say this does seem short-sighted for the people who now have to live around wild cobras.
Right. You think they could have just gone ahead and killed them all anyway, right?
I don't need them. They're unbelievably dangerous. Let's just let them outside like a dog that has to go pee.
Now, the end result, of course, is that the British government ended up paying the people of India to make the venomous cobra problem worse because those brown people couldn't be trusted to govern themselves intelligently, you see.
I am nailing this. Make India great again. I'm like 4 for 4.
We're paying people to make things worse. Are we sure this isn't the Bannon effect?
Oh, shit.
Or a cleaning lady? Really? You couldn't reach under the couch? No bueno. No bueno.
I'm not entirely sure Steve Bannon isn't a cobra, though, so it might be, we might just be using different terms for the same thing.
When he takes his mask off, he looks like that guy on Dreamscape, the hooded half-human.
It's the world's first Dreamscape reference, and I was here for it. Awesome. All right, so now if you look hard enough, or you continue reading a little further down the Wikipedia article, you'll learn that there are other examples of this same effect. Take, for example, an incident in Hanoi, Vietnam, this time under French colonial rule.
Ooh, just a bunch of people breeding baguettes.
Would have been way better. No, actually, it was singing chef mice. So,
Yeah.
No, it was horny Asian hookers. Maybe venomous long time.
Not that long a time. No, I don't need a lot of time.
Can we prorate it? That'd be great.
No, really, can we? Is that a thing?
Serious question.
I'm taking notes now.
Tom's just sitting here doing the math, thinking, fuck, I've been screwing this shit up. I've never even asked.
I'm going to save a fortune, guys. A fortune.
All right, so now this Vietnamese time, the colonial regime was worried about rats instead of cobras, proving that as shitty as Vietnam is, at least it's not India. So the government created a bounty program this time that paid a reward for each rat killed, and so they wouldn't be stuck with rooms full of dead rats. I don't know, they're French. You'd think they'd want that anyway. They didn't.
How would they notice?
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's probably what it is people kept eating them. They're going, guys, I need those for inventory later. Yeah. So what they decided to do, though, was to pay the bounty based on how many rat tails you could bring in.
Okay. All right. I'm not positive, but I think this is where my analogy kind of unravels. Because poor people don't have tails, right?
No, they don't.
I wouldn't know. I don't associate with them. We could go to Zales and squeeze some asses. We really care.
If they're just counting rat tails, they could clean up in Kentucky or really any monster truck event.
Now, as you probably already guessed, unless you've been listening to some other podcast up to this point, this didn't work out great for the French. As it happens, the Vietnamese rat catchers learned pretty quickly they were better off catching rats, lopping off their tails, and then sending them back out to breed more to make more rats that still had tails on them.
No comment. Andrew says I have no comment.
Save Cecil the edit.
Again, just like Kentucky, lots of horrifying pests breeding out of control.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Now, I have an interesting additional note here from Wikipedia, depending on how liberally we define interesting. Historian Michael Vann argues that since the cobra example from British India can't be proven, but the rats in Vietnam can be proven, the term should be changed to the rat effect. This is the kind of shit that keeps historians up at night, apparently.
All right. Well, obviously, there's still plenty more to say about the Cobra Effect, but we're going to take a quick...
Oh, actually, that's all the Wikipedia article said. That's where it ended.
And yet, Noah's going to come up with more interesting stuff to say about it, including a few modern examples. And then we're going to quiz him on his knowledge. But first, we're going to take a quick break for everybody's favorite mid-episode use of the interstitial music, apropos of nothing.
We now connect to the microwave in the Oval Office to hear a top secret discussion on healthcare.
So then I said, you can't trust him when he isn't joking about it. Right? Yeah. So Speaker Ryan, what is our plan for health care? Did we bother to write one up yet, or are we still just getting a ton of retweets on that repeal and replace line?
Well, Sean, that tweet is killing it. But yeah, our plan is to group everyone that is sick with everyone else that is sick. We're calling it the Leper Colony PPO. It isn't really a PPO, but nobody needs to know that.
Okay, it's a real leper colony, though, right?
Well, not initially, but we're not going to rule that out.
Oh, okay.
Not a fan. Not a fan. I came up with the best idea. It's so good. I spent like several minutes thinking about it, and I said to myself, this is a really good idea. We could fix the whole thing. All we have to do is repeal and replace Obamacare.
No, yeah, we were already, we did that.
Good. Terrible plan, Obamacare. It's a disaster. Too many people.
Too many what?
My comprehensive plan is to renegotiate each individual claim for each patient and each doctor in each city, in each state, for each line item.
Do you realize how long that's going to take, Mr. President?
Each one. Not sure if you read the book I ghost wrote, Out of the Deal. I make a pretty good medical billing assistant. Not as good as you, but pretty good. But the reality is that I am a negotiator. That's why a minority of Americans elected me. I'm also going to open the borders for medicine. For years, the American people have had to pay excessive amounts of money for healthcare, and they can get it cheaper. They can get it cheaper. They can get it cheaper across the border. Not anymore. We're going to let people go to Mexico for cheaper coverage, or to Canada. I hear it's free there, and the Prime Minister has the hots for my daughter.
Wouldn't that
Competition is the heart of the American economy. Doctors should be knife fighting in the street for patients. If I killed one of those doctors in front of a huge audience, nobody would even care. Somebody call Bannon, see if he can bring a few doctors over later to murder. But the point is, we're going to make Mexico pay for all our sick people through tariffs on our own health care because I'm smart.
Oh, okay, I don't think that's how any of this works.
And for my final solution, we replace Cobra.
The Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, the act that lets people stay on their health insurance after they become unemployed?
Absolutely. We replace Cobra with actual Cobras. The unemployment rate will plummet.
How?
They go to see a doctor. We have tiny doors, tiny little doors built into the examination rooms. After they're dead, we deport them.
But a whole lot of people are going to die.
How is this different than your plan?
Good point. Let's roll with it.
And we're back to learn more about the Cobra Effect. Noah, what question could I ask you that would best lead you into the next bullet point on your notes there?
What are some modern day versions of the Cobra Effect?
So, what are modern day some versions of the Cobra Effect?
I'm glad you almost asked, Eli. One particular hilarious example I found was the case of the Duplessis. I don't know. Duplessis orphans.
Oh my God, did we cut off their tails too?
I knew this basement full of orphans was going to come in handy.
And if you'd like to support the Merseyside Skeptics,
just don't let them all out at once. No, see, back in the 1940s, the Quebec government offered hospitals $1.25 a day to take care of orphans, but $2.75 a day to take care of psychiatric patients, creating a perverse incentive
for churches to breed crazy orphans.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think they thought of that. No, for the churches that took care of the orphans to misdiagnose the hell out of them and call them mentally unstable when they weren't.
oh, this is how you end up with a city of Batmen.
It's very often how Quebec is described in the modern day. Yeah. So, according to a very reliable, unsourced thing on Ranker.com, this led to 80% of the misdiagnosed patients to report that they underwent a traumatic experience between the ages of 7 and 18, and over 50% underwent physical, mental, or sexual abuse.
Well, they might have been crazy, but at least they were still fuckable.
Oh, wow.
Well, arguably more so. Check out Incredulous, by the way. No reason. Check it out.
Wow.
Hey, who wants to take bets that these were Catholic hospitals? No one? No one wants
No,
to?
because
I don't think so.
they were definitely Catholic hospitals. So,
Somebody's doing the raping.
like the cobras and the rats, the end result is the government ups their money for mental health services and thereby increases the number of mentally unhealthy people.
Doesn't it? It feels like Monsanto was involved somehow, doesn't it?
And this is why the government shouldn't pay for health care or orphans, which is good because the government doesn't.
Nope, not this one.
I believe that's called nailing it.
Now, another great example of the Cobra Effect from American history is Prohibition.
The saddest period in American history. And yes, I am including slavery.
Yeah, at least the slaves got to drink.
Yeah. All right, so the belief that led to it was the idea that drinking led to other illicit behaviors, and that caused Puritans to push for the criminalization of alcohol in the 1920s.
Ridiculous.
Tom threw a lesbian at Heath at QED.
I plead truth. Yes, I did that.
I caught her. It was a good throw. It was a good catch. Whatever. Everybody was safe.
So, in turn, organized crime took over the alcohol trade and was so well funded that they could invest heavily in all kinds of prostitution, bookmaking, gun running, and all the other stuff that the Puritans were trying to avoid by making alcohol illegal.
I so feel like I was born in the wrong era right now.
Modernity is not a virtue.
By the way, there's another example of this in Ireland. My people are crazy. Apparently, the church ran a campaign against alcohol around like 1840, and it made a bunch of people start drinking ether instead of alcohol. Like Fear and Loathing style ether. Like you have to give the
Fucking
man
Irish
$2
for you.
An Irish tradition that continues to this very day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's why you don't see Made in Ireland on anything.
No, you do. Orphans.
Yeah, right.
Septic tanks filled with orphans.
Truth bomb. You heard it here on InfoWars.
All right, so I got one final example, if you guys don't mind. And it's one that might have already occurred to some of the people in the audience. That would be the war on drugs here in the good old US of A. Obviously, there are plenty of aspects on the war on drugs that are controversial, but I don't think any serious observer would disagree when I said that America's war on drugs policy has created wider availability of drugs and fueled decades of cartel violence in Mexico and other south of the wall type countries.
Yeah. No. I feel like the wall is going to do the same thing. Like all of a sudden, if you're a rapist drug dealer, you better get to the United States now, right? Mm-hmm. And then the wall goes up and they're stuck here. Cobras all over again.
Yeah.
I'm just comforted by the fact that there's now wider availability of drugs. I feel like this is a win for the American consumer.
Is it? Really? Because I'm stuck with a guy who makes me come to Chinatown, Tom. So
one interesting way that the war on drugs falls into this Cobra Effect heading is the way that it criminalizes small possession, which makes people less employable and more likely to turn to drug dealing, which leads to stiffer criminal penalties in a cycle that creates a permanent underclass that probably does a lot of drugs.
So if
right.
you had to summarize what you learned, what would you say?
The Cobra Effect. Nowhere near as cool as the name would imply.
But the uniform with that chrome faceplate is lit. Look, I watched a lot of G.I. Joe as a kid.
Yeah,
Me too.
no.
I believe you.
And believing me is half the battle.
Believing you is the whole battle, buddy. I learned that under the right circumstances, my Cobra farm is marketable. I just need to bide my time.
Don't shake it.
Just Tom got a box of dead cobras in his basement. Any minute now.
By the same token, I have an orphan farm.
Way too many minutes now.
It's a futures portfolio. It's a very good one.
All right. Well, since you've consumed hundreds of words on the subject, I think it would be safe to say you're now an expert. And since we heard those words and make dick jokes about them, that makes us experts too. So it's time to throw it to the panel to see if one of our experts can stump you with a Cobra Effect related question. But since that's too boring to build good questions around, I decided to ask everybody to write questions about cobras instead. Are you ready?
Not even remotely. That's a completely different subject.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'll give it a whirl. Gentlemen, and I use that term loosely and with no discretion, what are a few heretofore unknown uses for cobras? A, put them in a peanut brittle canister and be the life of the party.
Life should be in quotes there.
B, see grandma again. C, release them during the chicken dance at the next wedding reception and watch the crowd go wild. Or D, no. There are no uses for fucking preternaturally fast venom and agony producing meat tubes. Just no.
All right. So I feel like, heretofore unknown. I've done A and C. I have to go with D here.
All right. I feel like that is accurate.
Yeah. All right, I got one. Which of the following is the correct response if you get bit by a cobra on your penis? A, fuck a Pentecostal person in the face. B,
That's the excuse I always use. Cobra bite! Cobra bite! Get over here!
all right, strong response for A. All right, but B, convert to Pentecostalism and masturbate. Similar. C, that's tricky. A and B are tricky, right?
Yeah,
you
no,
don't know.
this
This is
is
like
tough.
Thomas Takes the Bar. C, sit cross-legged and play the oboe until you climax. Or D, it does not involve coming the poison out, and answer C was racist.
All right, D is tempting. I feel like, but I feel like I can't be walking away from here saying the answer was not fuck a Pentecostal person in the face. That's usually a pretty strong answer. I'm going to go with A.
Believe it or not, A is correct. Fuck a Pentecostal person in the face.
Awesome.
That's real.
I'm good at this.
All right, I got
Wikipedia.
one. So Noah, which of the following is the coolest Cobra vehicle? And I'm talking about Cobra from G.I. Joe here.
Of course you are.
All right, so the Claw, CLAW, the covert light aerial weapon, which is basically a big metal jet hang glider with missiles, and it offered no armor for the driver except for covering the portion of his back. The people from the third Matrix movie probably designed it, actually. No, it's a good idea. B, the Snake, SNAKE, or System Neutralizer Armed and Cloaking Equipment, and cloaking is spelled with a K here. Which basically looked like an underwater sarcophagus that, no shit, was used to mine Arctic ice from underwater. C, the Air Chariot.
I'm still so confused
Which
about
is
B.
Serpentor's flying throne. It looked like a cobra fucked a jet ski except for it flew. And then finally, Zartan's chameleon. It looked like a praying mantis. It had 4 skis and no discernible means of propulsion.
Nope.
If this thing were real, it looked like it would just be good at sinking. So which one is the best? I get it too.
It was really good at sinking.
wow.
Put it in the bathtub, it just sinks.
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Snake because of the audacity to just spell cloaking with a K and pretend you're done.
No, I'm sorry. It was Air Chariot. It's Serpentor. You can't go against Serpentor.
Shit.
It's Cobra, la, 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 la. You can't do it.
Serpentor is the only one that delivers a nearly mortal wound.
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
show.
Yeah, he
Everybody
throws
else,
his snake thing.
yeah,
and he
everybody
hits
else
the
just shoots
guy and-
lasers near everyone else.
Yeah, he gets beat up by Sergeant Slaughter, though.
The only injury that's ever sustained on that show
was bound to
is
happen.
Serpentor throwing a snake into someone's shoulder. Nobody else ever gets a sprained ankle.
That's why he wins, and you lose.
No.
Yeah.
Even when their airplane blows up.
yeah, I'm just like,
exactly.
shit. Parachute home.
Fine.
All right. Well, now that we've strolled down memory lane to when toys were 85% lead paint and the rest was asbestos. Now that we really locked in that key component of our audience that makes up 60 to 75-year-olds, those who leave podcasts on to die to. You guys got any Margaret Thatcher jokes you want to throw out before I wrap this thing up?
So many. We have so many. Is it time for our Margaret Thatcher
Those
jokes?
that leave podcasts on to die to you're going to do that like next week.
Does it count if you're hosting it at the time?
This little Asian lady who's keeping my blood pumping could stop at any moment. All right. Well, Cecil, you were the first to stump our expert this week. So, Cecil, and part of your prize package is that you get to decide who has to read next week's article.
Well, reading these things requires a high level of ingenuity. So I'm going to go with the only guy I know to life hack a squatty potty. Tag, you're it, Heath.
I just got duct tape running at all different angles. It's perfect. All right. Eugenics.
Oh, no.
Put it on the board.
There we go.
I'm doing it.
Excellent. Popular episode. Put that in the title. And of course, also included in your victory gift bag is getting to read the answer to this week's question, or whatever that thing I was talking about last week with Twitter and the last week's thing, because I think that's a good idea, but I can't remember what it was exactly.
And the winner this week is at T and the B with "You throw it up in the air and I'll shoot it."
I don't understand this segment. I don't understand this segment at all. I don't know what's happening here.
The question of course, was what did he say to his wife when she told him about the baby?
Oh, no.
Good for them. All right, well, Tom, Cecil, Heath, and Noah. I'm Eli Bosnick.
He'll live long enough to see it born.
And I could take its heart. It's probably a shit ton of stem cells still in that thing. Reason con. I'm Eli Bosnick. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Heath will be an expert on something else. If you'd like to hear more from us between now and then, you can hear Tom and Cecil on the Cognitive Dissonance podcast, and you can hear me, Heath, and Noah on The Scathing Atheist, The Skeptocrat, and God Awful Movies, because we have more podcasts than them. Way more. If you'd like to keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/whatever we end up calling it. For more information, check the show notes for handy links, and think of all the orphans we won't have to misdiagnose if you donate.
And now we attack the G.I. Joe base and rule the world.
Battle stations, attack!
Cobra!
La, 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 la.
Whoa, wait, what are you doing there?
I'm attacking the G.I. Joe base, like you said.
No, what was that war cry?
Oh, what? You don't like it?
No, that's not the war. We've been shouting just Cobra for years.
I know, but, we just made Serpenter, and we have this new place we are all from called Cobra. So I just thought, improvise.
No, we've had this branding for years. You can't just change it like that.
I know, but, Serpenter and stuff. He's the new leader. I thought it'd be good change.
Okay, but even if I give you that, why the la 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 bit at the end? Can't you just do like Cobra La, like carry the A across, not the la la.
Okay, honestly, I was caught in the moment.
You do this all the time, Destro. We have branding standards. It's on the sheet. You tried to change the logo last year to sunflower yellow. It's blood red. That didn't make any sense.
Look, do we have to bring this stuff up on the brink of victory? Can't we just get this battle over with and then we talk about it? We work it out from there, man.
Okay, fine. Let's go.
All right, here we go.
Cobra!
La.
I quit the Cobra.
Oh, don't do that.
Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.